whether the result last Saturday or nothing, there's probably no relevance, Brian, to us. Anyone coming here, we feel we can take points off them. I think historically we've shown. I think last year was the first year in the Premier League that we've not took points off Celtic. So big game for us, big game personally for us. I think me and Malky spoke about it after the game on Saturday. It's probably one of the ones. Malky's disappointed, he's not picked up 3. I'm pretty happy I've got a point out of it, but I think it's probably 2 good points for both teams coming the end of the season. You could be looking back in that one going, remember the point at Dingwall or whatever. So aye, but definitely going into this game with a bit of belief. We've got to try and use a wee bit of the overhang from Celtic's European adventures. I think it's a huge factor, maybe not so much Old Firm, who are generally in European football every year, in terms of you maybe just look at Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen, the struggles, the injury struggles they have with the players adapting to midweek football. Celtic probably started back a lot later than everyone else, in terms of we were back in for the Viaplay Cup, they never had the qualifier. So if you probably look at the schedule in terms of how many games Celtic's played and how many games Livingston played, it's probably in and around roughly the same. You're probably sitting at a wee bit more, to be honest. But then you take in the international players who have had that international travel. Look at Callum McGregor. I don't think Callum McGregor gets a weekend off, maybe gets 3 weekends off a season. So he was away with Scotland, then you had the other international players away. So just taking into account the travel factor, they're away playing Champions League football at a very good intensity last night, took a lot out of them, took a lot out of the game, then they've got to travel back. So you've got to try and look for every small marginal gain you can, and it's definitely, I've had it done to me when you're Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, that type of thing. It does have a knock-on effect going into the 3rd fixture, the 4th fixture, the 5th fixture, so we've got to try and use that to our advantage. I think there's always going to be that transitional moment, like even if you just forget about Ange at this point in time and you look at Carter Vickers and Jota, that's 2 huge players, for me 2 of the most influential Celtic players from the previous couple of years. Then take out the manager, but I do believe they lost their top manager, but I do believe they've gained a top manager. So that transitional period in terms of the management's probably not so much there if they went and got a brand new manager and it never had the identity, never knew the Celtic identity, never managed Celtic. So I don't think the managerial front will be slight tweaks in terms of how Ange does it and how Brendan does it, but the 2 of them are top managers. The biggest factor for me probably is that we need to try and exploit is they've got a wee bit of an injury problems at this point in time. Carter Vickers out, Jota's obviously away, so that's for me two huge players that they're difficult just for new players to come in and just hit the ground running and replicate what these players have done over the last couple of years. So it's more so that than Ange leaving and Brendan coming in. I just think it's probably not their settled back 4. It's constantly changed due to injuries. I think any manager will tell you it's probably the one area of the park, the back 4 and the goalkeeper, that you're probably not want to try and change too much. You want to try and build relationships with one another. They've got to gel together. So I think there's top class players that are coming in these positions, but I think there's just that wee bit of an adaptation period of playing for Celtic but also adjusting to Scottish football. So I'm not going to say it's a weak area, because I watched the game last night and when it was 11v11, I honestly didn't think there was anything in the game at all. I thought Celtic started the game very, very well. They had a couple of chances. Was it Kyogo that Hatate had the shot off his right foot, probably should have slipped in. It's a different game, but that's the game changers at that level. So 11v11, I don't think you've seen any defensive frailties at all in the Celtic lineup. So I get what people were coming from, I've seen it in the media, but I'm not sure I'm buying into that myself. Yeah. Listen, I think take Celtic out of the equation. It's every game you're coming into, you want to ask questions of every team's centre back pair and every team's defensive shape, defensive lineup. So no necessarily just going into the Celtic game. Every single game you come into, that's what I'm asking my forwards to do. Go and ask questions of the defensive unit. That's us, like, probably goes a wee bit unnoticed at times, to be honest, but that's this group of players, this group of staff. I've lost 1 game in 10. We've been back in, there's been 10 competitive games. That's out with even the friendlies. So 10 competitive games and we've lost 1 game. So that shows you the solidity and the continuity we've managed to build into this group of players. So I think they've got to take huge credit for it. The one game we lost was Rangers at Ibrox. So again, we're just going into this game. I think we're confident, we're at home. Celtic have just come off a massive European night, so we've got to try and do our utmost to try and take the game to Celtic, and that's what we're going to try and do. I think probably a wee bit similar to how Celtic have found it this year. They've lost 2 or 3 very, very influential players. We lost probably something I'm probably more used to be honest. We've lost some very, very big players for us this year, boys that played most games for us over the last 3-4 seasons. Stephen O'Menga, Nicky Devlin, Jack Fitzwater, just to name 3. But there was players in the building last year that probably never got as much game time as they would have liked, that understand what I'm looking for in a match day and on a training day. So they were a wee bit more game ready coming into this season. And my recruitment's not been too bad this year. It's been a difficult window. I think I've been very vocal on that, but I'm pretty happy with who we've got in the building, and it's testament to the staff. There's a lot of continuity within the staff, and they've still got that core players in that changing room. Are probably sitting there with 14-15 players that understand exactly what I'm looking for on a game day, and understand how we approach training, on the culture at the club, the environment at the club, and what's required of them. So they lead by example. Big Curtis chat my door, and I'm very big on, I take players' opinions, and I don't mean that's disrespectful agent. Every agent tells you the player's ready to play for you and they need an opportunity in X, Y and Z. That's their job. But when you've got players saying, look Gaffer, I think I've got a player here, I think you'll like him, I always give them that opportunity. So Curtis chapped the door. I think Curtis was on his B licence with him, and said, look, one of my mates is looking for a club, do you mind if he comes in and train, you can crash with me? I said, crack on. I've not got any space for him, I've no budget at this point in time, so tell him to come in. If he wants to come in and train, in the worst case scenario, he keeps himself fit and an opportunity arises elsewhere. He came in, and for day one I was really impressed by him, really impressed by his communication, his attitude, his application on and off the ball. And it's probably a trait we missed last year, a wee bit of communication on and off the park. Danny's definitely got that, and it was, as I said, it's probably a part of the game last year that I felt we were missing, was the vocal side on and off the park, in the changing room before the game, half time and after the game. But I think for me that's a modern day changing room now. That's the one that's becoming more difficult to try and go and find these players. But first and foremost, he will do a job for us on the park, but secondly, he's a fantastic character off it. For me, probably, is it a good or a bad time to play any role for him? Probably not. Would I rather play Celtic with Carter Vickers out of time? Of course I would, because I think he's one of the best centre backs in Scotland. So a good time in the respect that he's not available. They're coming back from a European game where I feel they were very competitive for 60 minutes, and until they send an off, it changed the game. They finished the game playing with 9 men. I know the tempo came out of the game, so ideally that scenario probably is one that I would look at as being a positive from our point of view. But I think it's going to have that much of a bearing on the game on Saturday? Probably not. No. It's probably St Johnstone. Stephen McLean sitting there going, he's delighted with this, isn't he? We were at Ibrox on Wednesday, Celtic here, and it was very similar 2 years ago. I think it was Angie's first game here, Celtic here. I think it might have been the Sunday, Shinnie came up with the winner. We beat them 1-0. We went to Ibrox in the quarter final, got beat 2-0 from memory, and then went to Tynecastle on the Saturday and got absolutely, they ran riot, honestly, just because of that. We put a lot of physical and mental energy into the previous 2 fixtures, because they 2 opponents demand that you're at the top of your game. You've got to put a lot into the game. You don't get anything for nothing. So Stevie McLean's probably the winner here. But aye, listen, it is what it is. I've got a squad, and we're more than capable, in my opinion, we're more than capable of getting something on Saturday, getting something on the Wednesday, and going up to McDermott Park and trying to take 3 points as well. So that's football, and I wouldn't want it any other way, to be honest. I enjoy that challenge, I enjoy the pressures, and I think you ask any manager, any coach, any football player, you'd rather playing games of football than training. Injuries, Mick came off injured against Ross County, so he potentially could make it, but I've got a decision to make on that one, because as I just spoke about, there's 3 big games coming up. I'm trying to think. Sean Kelly and Tom Parks played 45 minutes in the reserve game last Tuesday, played 60 and 70 minutes yesterday in the reserve game, so both of them have came through that, so they'll be in the matchday squad. Tom was in it last week, Sean was just missed out, but I think both of them will play a part in the matchday squad, so that brings us a wee bit more depth back in terms of the defensive area and the midfield area. So 2 back, maybe a wee bit early for Mick, but I'll probably have a better idea of that on Friday.